But there's a strata of kids, which I don't know if I'm hearing correctly from you, that is probably going to miss the boat in terms of College Summit and all these things that are top-down driven, that might be a focus for us as an as a group to focus on whose parents and who these kids and whose parents are you know, with the right kind of intervention focus from us might be able to make it.
So
the emphasis here is lever, right?
Yeah.
There is a program here, and these kids that are trying to live past 18, I'm not sure from my narrow perspective how we're going to use the promise as a lever to help them. I do understand how we're going to help this third strata of kids using this as a lever to get up. I'm not saying that's the right answer, I'm just saying that's my limited understanding.
So in terms of what we have in front of us, if we've organized this conversation around the Promise scholarships, there may be other conversations and other tables where we talk about the kids and how we help them survive and how we overcome a lot of that. And what this conversation here might be is around, and again, this is what I thought I heard this morning, that there's about 30% of the kids who are probably ready to go with limited or minimal supports to participate in this program, and that the goal, one of the three chief goals of the New Haven School Change is to get that up to 75%. So there's a lot of work to be done inside the school system in terms of the tiering, in terms of the talent, in terms of the data and all that stuff. And then there's a lot of work that we as a community can do to meet those children, youth, and families, to help from the outside of the school system get them and keep them in school and support that kind of culture change in our neighborhoods so that kids can succeed. Does that second part of it seem like where we want to focus our attention in here, without knowing that many of us have in our hearts this sense of youth who need to survive, and that's not a priority. It's a huge priority, but maybe in terms of the organization of our conversation as it relates to leveraging, this scholarship opportunity that we're really talking about, that would be 45%, moving from 30 to 75%. Does that seem like, can we get an okay or an amen on that? Does that sound like where we want to go? Okay.
But
wow.
If I could just interject this quickly, and without being contradictory, I think the other piece of this, the realistic side of it is, in spite of our best efforts, in spite of our noble efforts and what's in our heart, we also recognize, unfortunately, that we can't save everybody, and we won't be able to save everybody. And that's a harsh reality we have to sit in. It's hard for us to accept those who have, want to help and save the world. But at the same time, the reality of it is we won't, and some will fall through the cracks, and we won't be able to get to everybody, no matter, in spite of our best efforts. But we can try, and we give it our best. And so, as much as we can do to tweak this program, so the circle can be enlarged. That should be our focus. And we can certainly make recommendations and suggestions to the powers that be. Look, these other issues are maybe beyond our scope, but we're concerned about it. And we think as a community, whether it's state, federal, whoever it might be, private sector, need to get involved with this and help it in some form or fashion. But if our focus is on New Haven Promise program, then I think it should be narrow. Expanded on one thing, but very realistic in terms of expectations of what we can do.
Well, and I think that goal should be reaching that critical mass so that it starts changing some of those environmental issues about being bullying. Because when you reach that critical mass, you reach that 75%, by effect, you start to lift the other kids up too, by virtue of lifting up the majority and getting to that height.
I wanted to say that I think a lot of good ideas are being shared here, and I'm wondering a couple of things. First, have we really reached out to the youth and asked for their perspective on what they need? How, you talked about this young man who said he just wants to make it to 18, which is just so tragic, but it's real. It's his reality. And I'm thinking, what if we had some kind of a youth summit or just organized youth so that we can hear from them. What is it that they need to succeed, to do well in school, to be encouraged, to be nurtured, and to be engaged by education? So that's one idea of it. And then the other idea is maybe we can, if we're going to keep meeting as a group, maybe we can have youth representation. Because, you know, the thing is then if we get, the more we get youth involved in the decision-making process, decisions that are impacting their lives, then they can also talk to their peers. And then, you know, they can serve as mentors even to their peers and role models and really help encourage their peers to succeed. You know, so that's just my thinking on that.
I need to step in here because we need to get out. There's a request from our sponsors to the group that we be out of here by 7. We need to close down. So,
So a lot of pizza eating needs to go on.
a lot of number one pizza needs to eat in the next 5 minutes. Number one. Number two, I mean, the other end of it is if you guys want to meet outside of this, let's do it. Between that and now, we need to figure out when we're going to meet again, where, and how we're going to get youth inside this room. I don't see anyone below the age of fill in the blank here. So, very good point. Thanks so much. So, first question, when do we meet? Do Wednesdays work for everyone at this time?
No.
Yes?
Oh, sure.
And do we want to meet, is there an alternative venue where we can meet at this time, 6 or 5:30 onwards, afterwards?
You can meet at Youth Rights Media if you want to come to 77 Willow Street on the 2nd floor.
Excellent.
We have a nice big room for everybody.
Parking would probably be easier.
Everybody say, everybody good?
Yeah.
All right, so we figured that out. How do we get youth to be here? We need somebody who can speak for themselves and not us speaking for them. Let's get some kids.
No, we put it out to the commission.
That'd be awesome.
To recommend.
I'd like to just pose a question to the group real quick. What benefit is this program to Connecticut? Are we cultivating students or educating them? How are we going to retain them in Connecticut and get them reinvested in the community?
There is an aspect of this which I heard a little bit about, but it hasn't been really fully fledged out, and I'm not sure when it will be. I know there's, you know, they're kind of doing phases on this, but there is an interest in looking at job development for graduates in New Haven. For college graduates in New Haven. So, I mean, not that they're, you know, that's brand new.
We export a lot of students.
Sorry, hold on. There's a quick answer to that. The website to go to, I would argue, is ournewhaven.org. This is the official website. You're going to get all the
forms,
bureaucratic yabba 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 do, which is good. Here, ournewhaven.org. Of course, the self-interested plug there is that we created that site. That site is meant to give, for example, you'll find 4 videos there from Eric talking about the parental gap. It's where the rubber meets the road and issues like this get taken care of. On Friday, which is day 5 of the rollout, we will be discussing the theme is going to be, this is not just a scholarship, this is 23 other ways to impact our city, and most of those ways are in fact economic development with empirical evidence attached to them about rise in home values, influx of families, for example, in Kalamazoo, foreign families in 2 years from 32 states moved and kept to Kalamazoo as a result of their Promise program. So there is a concerted effort, and as a community, that's one of the other ways in which we can get involved in this. But I think we're all in agreement that it has to start with our kids. Economic development is nice and all that.
So really quick, right? And I think this goes to Eric, right?
Yes.
To his point, is the need for an invitation to someone who can answer that question, right? Because, you know, we could sit around here.
We should pose to ourselves anyway. I mean, if we're going through all this time, energy, expense to educate children, and just to have them move to Massachusetts or the Silicon Valley, what benefit is that to all of those who have vested interest?
Why don't we do this? We'll invite Ann Haynes, the CEO of the Economic Development Corporation of New Haven, who we already interviewed. You'll see some of her insights about this specific question on Friday if you go to ournewhaven.org. But one of these meetups, one of these Wednesdays, let's invite Ann, the EDC, to talk specifically about these questions, because it is very much part of the promise.